Hi boys and girls, we have been learning about Vincent van Gogh and his beautiful, beautiful, windy, textured, moving skies. And we created a beautiful sky last week using some oil pastels and using some paint. Many of you learned and included some beautiful repeating lines to show movement. And most of us were able to finish our painting. If you did not get to finish your painting, the very first thing you're going to do is use those brushes to finish your sky. And remember that if you're using your oil pastel, you definitely want to push down hard enough so that when you paint your watercolors over top, you can see those lines and those lines show up for you. So the first thing would be to finish painting your sky. When you're finished, go ahead and leave your brushes inside of your paints, and I will move those out of the way for you, and you'll put your sky on the drying rack. Now, if you are completely finished with your sky, I want you to know that there are some oil pastels on your tables. So if you do want to add some extra lines in, maybe you decided that you really want your sky to look darker, feel free to add some of those lines in and create some of those brush strokes and those beautiful textures with the oil pastels on your table. The other thing you're going to do with the oil pastels on your table, we've been talking about textures, and we also painted some beautiful paper with the watercolors a couple classes ago. And today we're going to start using some of those oil pastels to create lines that represent texture. And if you look carefully, I've used lines in a diagonal fashion. I've used some dark greens, some light greens. I'm adding some black in here too. And I'm just using them in a way that they would represent for me some grass. You can have lots of different types of textures. Maybe your textures are going to represent a different type of plane. You can use dots to represent your textures. You can use long horizontal lines to represent your textures. However you want to represent a texture on your paper, you can. And remember, texture is how something feels, but a visual texture is a texture that you can see with your eyes. So by using your oil pastel or paint stick or brush, whatever you're adding texture with, or even pencil, by using it in a different way over and over again, repeating those lines or dots or marks, you're going to create different types of textures. I've created 2 different types of textures here on this paper. After you're finished filling your area with texture, you're going to be tearing these 2 pieces in half. Sometimes it's hard. You might even need to cut it with scissors. You have scissors. I like tearing mine. I've got 2 different sections to use. And then we're going to be using these textures to cut and glue to the bottom of our sky. Today we're going to focus on just working on finishing our textures and finishing our skies. And then eventually we'll be adding these textured surfaces to the bottom to complete our